Welcome to Beyond Our Focus. I'm Stefan, this is Amanda, and this is Let's Palaver about the Gunslinger, Chapter 2, The Way Station. Also, the first book in the Dark Tower series. So we're still going through that. We've only done one. This is the second exciting one. We're more organized this time. If you happen to get into the other one, like, hey, this is really long. We're a little more organized. We think we know what's going on.
Well, it also didn't help that when we originally started last episode, we didn't realize how the original version differed so much from the newer one. So we spent half the podcast figuring out the differences. Well, I went ahead.
She got herself a new book, but she was mighty fancy and read the Chapter 2 twice in both versions. So we still have some comparisons, and we can see where they changed, where he changed, what he decided to take out, put in. A little bit, but we're not going to have to jump back and forth so much.
Yes.
I'm organized with my notes, so this whole thing should just be a little smoother. It's going to be a little quicker. The chapter itself is, I think, like 50 pages instead of the 70-something we read last time. So,
Page numbers,
and we're going to be all right. So, we'll start, of course, with our books somehow are still different.
Oh, God.
Or at least where the pages start. So, for me, it starts on page 73, and for her, 79. Yes. But we start off with a rhyme, essentially.
Yes.
A children's story bed rhyme, kind of? Or at least that's how he describes it.
Yes, it's one of those... It's not quite a lullaby, but...
It's not. It's what this is like a kid's rhyme.
Yeah.
That's really all it is. For him, it was a bedtime story.
I forgot, so essentially it's, the rain in Spain. I mean, we've all heard it, at least I know I have.
I know. I've never heard the whole thing until the book.
Also, I don't even know if these are the exact words. It's not something I looked up.
Yeah,
but
they may be, I actually even probably feel like they're probably semi-different.
Yeah. But as far as that goes, to me, it's just something that's said... kind of like a Mother Goose rhyme. It's not really this is your bedtime story.
But it wasn't a bedtime. It was for him, it wasn't a bedtime story. It was it nap time story?
Yes.
Because there's a very particular quote, like very shortly after this. I don't remember if I wrote down it. Is it all small boys are born to the high speech and must face the darkness alone?
Yes.
So they can't have any bedtime stories.
Yes. No bedtime stories. I assume that means that there's no night lights, no,
this doesn't seem like a world that we say, we're going to give you a nightlight. No. How old is he right here?
I don't actually think it says. I don't know.
I don't think they put an age on him.
No.
But we can assume this is, I believe, a couple years before his him going to manhood.
Yeah.
He does that early. What age was that? That was like 13 or 12 or something? Like really early. So. It was a couple years even before his father went.
Yes, because he wasn't supposed to, but that'll be in another chapter, or...
Another book.
Essentially, that's in another book.
Yeah, we'll go over that. It touches on things around that a lot in this, but doesn't actually go into him going into whatever, the manhood trial.
As far as the first page goes, I mean, it's not like a major life changer for the books, but yes, there is a difference in the poems.
Are there?
Yeah.
Really?
It's very minor. It's just some of the lyrics or lines, limericks, I don't even know, are different, but it doesn't change the poem to make it, how would you say it? It still pretty much gives the same poem. I think it might be a little shorter. But
well, I'm going to read the poem just so y'all know what it is. I don't know if you read the book. I don't know if that's how you're keeping up. I don't know if you like listening to us talk. No one really knows. But it says, the rain in Spain falls on the plain. There is joy and also pain. But the rain in Spain falls on the plain. Time's a sheet, life's a strain. All the things we know will change, and all those things remain the same. But be ye mad or only sane, the rain in Spain falls on the plain. We walk in love, but fly in chains, and the plains in Spain fall in the rain.
Yes, and immediately right after that, it does say that he didn't really know what a plane was.
He didn't know what a plane was?
Like an airplane, like it's Plane, plane. But I don't think it said that in the original. Like, if I remember right, that was one of the things that changed, just because...
Well, he wouldn't know. And this
is a world that's moved on.
It's the term they use a lot is this world has moved on.
Yes.
There's so many things that reminiscent of our world.
Yeah.
But it seems like some great catastrophe. Ooh, that's not how you say that word. Great tragic thing happened, and we've then been set backwards, and now we're kind of back to this Western world, and things are trying to move back forward, but we haven't. It's a weird time. And we're going to constantly be reminded that there was an interesting world before this happened.
Yes.
Like a future way past even where we are now.
To me, it's almost like sometimes when I view their world, it almost reminds me of the Book of Eli. Except it would have happened like even way beyond that. Like technology would have had to advance a lot farther before that happened.
Book of Eli took place like if things happen now and there's a little way later in the remnants of this time. This is like if we made it a couple hundred years in the future and then things went to crap.
Yeah.
And then this is like, what? How long later? Hundreds and hundreds of years later, I would assume.
And being that he was born what seems like after it already had moved on, he doesn't know a lot of what things are. Plus, another thing that comes up is, I don't know. A reoccurring theme in the Dark Tower books is where and when.
No one seems to know those questions exactly.
Like, you don't know a where, you don't know a when, so... And there's, where
time
and
is
whens.
now, the place is here.
Okay.
Or, the place is here, the time is now.
The Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone. It works for it, too, though.
What was your next note as far as...
Something weird. He just says he was out of water. I don't know why I put that.
Okay, but before we even get to that, one of the major things I found in the original version, actually, was that there is a grammar error. A big grammar error. Okay, so at one point, it's right after the rhyme, he says... He pretty much talks about how his mother would be the one that would sing it to him, but not at bedtimes, at nap time.
Nap time, of course.
Okay. In the original version, it actually says his father sings it to him, but then changes it to she did not sing it at bedtime. So essentially, he chose the father, and then
it just seems like
two or three words later, it just seems like a strange...
Some weird... grammar, not even grammar, it's just a word that got thrown in or something happened in the press. Something happened and something got switched.
To me, it almost seems like with how little they actually mention his mother in the original version, it's almost like he didn't want to put the mom in there, like didn't want to use his mother, so that he put it in as father, but his brain automatically clicked over to it's the mother that's usually
this is the thing, he gets caught in the publishing part and all that.
Where was your editor?
I mean, exactly. So I don't know. It just seems it's a weird thing. I don't know how it happened. I don't know how these things happen. I don't know how book publishing happens. So. Yes,
my next one is it's just about how him saying that he doesn't remember, like he's been wandering for a while through this desert. Like if you remember from, like if you listened to us last time or if you read the book, big if please, you realize that he left Tull and has now been wandering through that desert that no one knows to see what is beyond.
Well, he went from Tull to the hut with Zoltan and the guy.
Oh, that's right. And then
from there, because that was still the hard land.
Yes.
And from there was the desert.
Yes, that's right.
And then we pick up immediately in the second chapter with this, like, him remembering his mother in this rhyme, and then we pick up him in the desert.
Yes. And it's literally, he's kind of, just like every story you ever hear about people in the desert, they're starting to kind of slip. So,
and that's why I wrote it. He's out of water, because he's out of water.
Yes. Before, like, originally when it opened up on the, the first page of the first chapter, it's like, oh, he has some water. He's not really, he's thirsty.
He's thirsty. Now he's gone through the desert, and he's out of water.
Yes.
He's not doing well. I know it talks about... Yeah, it talks about him... I had something. It was there.
I know that he's trying to remember what... He could no longer remember what the bird's name was.
Yeah, he couldn't remember the Zoltan's name.
And in the old version, he actually says he couldn't remember the raven's name. And then in this one, he couldn't remember the bird's name. Now, it's not a big change,
Odd change,
but yeah.
But, yeah. I know it says... The thing I was trying to get there, is he hasn't fallen yet. But he knows he will.
Yes, he goes on pretty much to say that it's like he feels himself falling, but he doesn't want to. He knows that no one is around, but it's his pride.
Pride that keeps him up.
Yes.
He doesn't want to fall because of his pride.
Yes, and there's no one to see it happen, but it's him,
And of course, he does fall.
Yes.
He does fall. And he scrapes his hands, and then... It was interesting in the... I don't know how sand works, but...
What do you mean you don't know how sand works?
He scrapes his hand on the sand?
No, it says he scrapes his hands on the hard pan, meaning it's that, like, if you've ever seen pictures of where lakes have dried up, it's like just like crusty.
I thought we were in the desert. I think we were in the hard pan so much.
But
that's what it is.
But yeah, he pretty much scrapes his hand, and he's sitting there looking at it and just looking at the blood just starting to come out, and he hates it. He's cursing his own blood. Because, it wants for nothing.
So we move on from there, which goes to the next page. Or for me, picks up, he thinks he sees the man in black.
Yes.
Because this is what is this? The bottom of the next page. Because he sees the buildings, and he sees someone at the buildings. And he thinks it's the man in black. He thinks he's gotten there. Of course, he's a little delirious at this point, but he thinks he's gotten there.
At first, I want to say, like, when he first saw something, because that was the thing, is that he... What was it? I don't remember. But yes, he looks at the buildings, he sees a shadow moving within, like, the shadow of the... I guess there's a farmhouse,
Someone sat in the shadow, leaning against the building, and the building seemed to lean with the burden of his weight. Him, then, at least, the man in black.
Yes.
He has seen the man in black. Or he thinks he has seen the man in black. He's seen someone! And he's a little delirious.
Well, yeah, it's like you've been traveling this desert searching for this guy for how many years? And you've been trying to get closer and closer, and then suddenly, dude, he stopped for you. Why?
So he's...
No more searching.
Yeah. So he, thinking he'd seen the man in black...
That's what it was. When he originally saw the hut, like the house, the hut and everything, he thought it was a mirage.
Oh.
He had looked up, he saw it in front of him and kept walking, because then he had fallen, and he was sitting there cursing his hands and stuff like that, and then as he gets up, he doesn't realize, like, he got really close, and it scares him. Like, he gives, like, a startled... It says that a dust-choked croak, because it's like, it was just suddenly in front of him, and he didn't believe he'd ever make it there.
Which he's still not that close.
No.
Because it says, since he sees the man in black, he runs. This man who has no water is almost choking on the air around him. Runs the last 4th mile to try to get the man in black.
Oh, yeah. And he, of course, is geared for it. He's already drawing his gun.
Oh, yeah, the gun's out. He kicks down the fence. Before realizing that, the man in black seems to have shrunk 2 feet.
Yes.
And he has white hair.
I loved it because he's like, my God, he is worn away to nothing. What's happened to him?
Oh, yeah, he's really worn away.
He lost some inches.
That's really wearing down someone. If you get 2 feet shorter, things have happened.
Yeah, I think so. You maybe lost some legs.
You've done something. You're footless at this point. He'd been cut off at the calf. Not the knees. Some things have happened. And then I think he just passes out. He has his guns on him. He says something.
What happens is he sees him. He keeps running towards him, and as the figure kind of stands up and kind of looks at him, he stops slowly, then looks at the ground, and then kind of looks back up and realizes there's a boy standing in front of him. And it's almost like he's defeated and confused at the same time, because he kind of just lowers his gun, lowers his head, and walks into the barn.
He did not walk into the barn.
Yes, he did.
He does not walk into...
Yes, he walks into the barn
and then passes out?
And then falls right on his face because he spins around and sees that the boy had followed him and then just lands right on his face.
Blankly shook his head.
I read the book twice.
That doesn't matter!
Sorry, I read the chapter twice.
He shook his head again and started the stable with...
I'm sorry, the stable, not
the
barn. My bad.
Blah, blah, yeah.
So
He fell over on his face. Which then we... Blah, blah, blah.
I don't know why, but I wrote down Jake's manner and introduction. So apparently that was a difference between the old book and the new book. Like how...
Because the next thing I have skips a couple pages and just goes to the story about Jake when he hypnotizes him.
Yeah, this is shortly before that. He actually, that's what it was. Literally, Roland wakes up. Jake couldn't move him, so he just put some hay under his head and everything. He tried. He's
still a boy of 10 or 11.
We'll get to that in a minute. But he, in the newer version, he says, "Would you want something to eat, sir?" In the old one, he just says, "You want to eat?" Or he pretty much goes, "You want food?" He just is really short. It has no, really manners to it. He doesn't sound like he's from a prep school. It pretty much was just "Do you want food?"
Do you want food?
Also, he's like, "My name is John Chambers. You can call me Jake. I have a friend, well, sort of a friend, she works for us, who calls me Bama sometimes, but you can call me Jake." Non-existent in the old version. He just says, "My name is John Chambers, you can call me Jake." And that is it.
Because I don't think they've gotten to that yet.
Yes.
He adds it back in on this particular version, because that's not brought back up until the next book? Yeah, Dawning of the Three.
No,
Jake's past.
No, when he hypnotizes him, he talks about the nanny and how she calls him Bama. And, yeah. So it's a couple pages away, and it's in the old book, but for some reason, just that point, he doesn't expand his introduction. He's just very short.
Very short with everything, and we don't get a lot.
Yeah.
For some reason, he felt that he needed to add this weird thing. It makes Jake seem like he hasn't been here as long, and maybe he's not quite as in shock from being here.
Yeah. But yes, they had, like you said, the boy was well made, handsome, perhaps 10 or 11. In the old one, it just says, "The boy was well made, perhaps 9.
Perhaps 9. That's a big difference. That's a couple of years adding to poor little Jake there.
You go from, this is a 9-year-old who is just randomly in the middle of the desert to, maybe he's 10 or 11.
It's different, but again, it makes me think maybe later in the books that maybe he has made Jake to be a little bit older than he originally had maybe put him in the original, and it just felt right to make him 11. So in the later books, he's more like 13 or 14. Yes. He's a young teen.
I think it helps move the story in a certain direction or in different directions, because when you have a child of a certain younger age, things happening to him or things happening to that child, whatever, is a little bit more shocking. And then you hit the teen years and you're like, I can see that more or less happening compared to a 10-year-old. And
it goes from where he feels like a kid to me,
he's
almost like a preteen. He's not doesn't feel as young.
Yes.
Which, of course, at some point we're going to get some really shocking stuff they throw in here, in my personal opinion.
But here's the other thing that I liked, and that was a different thing between the two of them, is that right after that, so he says perhaps 10 or 11, he says, there had been a shadow of fear on his face, but that was all right. The gunslinger would have trusted him far less if the boy hadn't shown fear.
Mm-hmm.
In the old version, it says, the boy was well made, perhaps 9. There had been a shadow on his face, but there were shadows on all faces now.
It's different. It's one of those things not really a lot of reason to change it, but it gives them more of a reason to explain why he kind of likes Jake, why he trusts Jake a little bit.
I just really liked that because it was you went from there are shadows on all faces now, meaning it kind of gave you that sense that everyone who interacts with the gunslinger feels fear or just kind of stays away from him, or everyone just has the shadow, the hunker down, you see him pass by, you're not going to look at him thing. Meanwhile, I think he just explained it more for the flow where it just says, but that was all right, the gunslinger would have trusted him far less if there was no fear.
This is the boy.
Yes.
And it makes sense that he would fear this guy with guns on him.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much it from that area. The next one I have is on the next page, but what was your next one?
Mine.
Oh, yours was the
is one of the very last thing he said. He says, maybe I was. I thought you were somebody else. The priest?
Yes. Right before...
Looked up sharply.
Where was it? Okay. 85 and the new one. Okay. So yes, it was when he was saying, the priest, and then he, of course, it says the gunslinger looked up sharply. Was it? Is it? I don't know. I love Jake. He's just I don't like people. They fuck me up. I'm damn, Jake. I agree.
I like Jake a lot. And when we go through his past, I like him more.
Yeah. But it's I definitely feel you, Jake. But I don't know why I wrote it down. Oh, there it is. It's the very last thing, of course. But it says, how long ago, tell me for your father's sake.
I put the exact same thing in here.
Yes.
How long ago, for your father's sake?
Here's the thing, is that for your father's sake, on the next page, him calling Alice, or, what was her actual name? I know that they called her Alice, but...
Who? Yeah. The nanny?
Yeah, no, Alice, from Toll.
Alice. Oh.
Okay. He calls her his Jilly.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Jilly, for your father's sake, at some point he says, if it do please ya.
Mm-hmm.
These are all things that reoccur throughout the entire series.
Yes.
But do not exist in the original book.
Again,
it's like he created his language throughout the series and then had to go back and...
added to make the first book feel more part of the series.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the introduction was, and that's what the introduction 4 was saying.
Yeah.
That's why he did this, because it did feel disconnected from everything else. So by doing this, it helps the book. It helps you feel like it belongs with the rest of the series, and more introduces the original new reader to what this world is better, instead of reading the first one and then the second, and they just get wildly different.
Yes. I think I also... What were we talking about in the first chapter when we were like, this kind of shows you who Roland is as far as his different personalities. Okay, it was how some drunken person at the bar was like, I don't remember who, it might have been Sheb, it might have been someone else, but they were like, yeah, that Alice chick, she's super nice if you know what I mean. And he's like, excuse me? And he's like... No,
that was the guy, I think, lifted up his mule. Wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it's the guy looking after his mule.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because he was always one, the back talk.
Yes.
And then, we're like, what?
The creepy dude.
Nothing. I didn't say anything, and if I did, I'm really sorry about it, or whatever.
And then it's like, that shows you his personality in that sense, that he does feel a sense of protection over people. And then, so when he's like, he pretty much is like, tell me for your father's sake, and Jake's like, I he calms down and he's like, I'm not going to hurt you. And it's
I
like...
just need some information.
It's like, I know I seem a little excited, but I'm not going to hurt you. So it's like, I just feel like he just went from murdering an entire town, and he still is willing to be like, okay, this is a child. I'm going to tone back a bit and just be like, it's still, okay.
Poor little Jake here just doesn't remember anything. It's like this transition to this place, this world, has really messed with his mind.
You think?
Yeah. Which we'll understand more here in a second, which we get a little further, because that was all kinds of screwed up.
Yes. But the how long ago thing, like how long has it been?
Yes, because I got that too. He's like, I haven't been here long.
Yes.
And he's like, well, how long? And then eventually gets to 3 poops ago.
Yeah, which is not in the original, actually.
Is it not?
No.
What a weird thing to have.
Yeah, it just says poops as a measurement is non-existent in the old one.
Well, that's all he's got. He's like, I don't know how long I've been here. I can only measure things by
how many times you've had to use the bathroom, apparently.
And then it said, Jake tells him the man in black didn't drink anything that he could see.
Which is weird. Yeah, he didn't even drink. I thought he might be the ghost of a priest.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird because... Okay, never mind. I forgot what book I was holding. Bad. But it's like... what was it? He's talking about how he's kind of looking at Jake going, okay, so maybe he does have, what he says is he's got juice. But mayhap he's not, not quite the strongest right now because he could have killed me in my sleep, or, well, he says mayhap some sand in his craw as well, or he would have taken one of my guns and shot me right where I lay.
Mm-hmm.
Which actually, in the original, he doesn't even think about. Does not think about Jake killing him in his sleep at all.
Yeah, well, it's mentioned here and mentioned again later.
Yes, that's the funny thing, is that it is mentioned again later in the old one. When Jake is admittedly goes, well, I was going to shank you with a pitchfork, but I decided not to. I'm glad I didn't. And,
right after he said he didn't drink anything, I thought he might be the ghost of a priest. Like in the movie I saw once, only Zorro figured out he wasn't a priest and all. Or a ghost either. He was just a bunker or who wanted some land because of the gold. Mrs. Shaw took me to see this movie. It was in Times Square. Very specific memory he seems to have.
Yes.
Of Times Square.
And of course, none of this made any sense to the gunslinger.
No, he doesn't have any clue what's going on.
He doesn't know what a plane is. He's not going to know what Times Square is. He's not going to know what a movie is. He doesn't know who Zorro is.
And at some point, he doesn't think Jake is from around here.
Really?
Yeah.
But he does get excited because it means that he's closest to the men in black. The men.
Well, see, that's the thing. I also adhere to for the short things. I have it MIB. It's like because it is Man in Black. That's what he's referred to. But I look at him like, oh, the Men in Black.
Yes. So
another tie into the books.
Oh my goodness. So yes, he does get super excited because this is the closest he's ever been to the Man in Black.
That's right, not the men. Kind of. But not the men. Go.
Also the food of the Dark Tower world is dried meat.
Yeah, there's not a lot going on down here. There's dried meat.
It's just dried meat.
And just water. Thankfully there was water
Water
here,
and dried meat.
because he needed that. Where did you come from, Jake? I don't know. But I did know. But it's all fuzzy, like a bad dream. So next. My top of my very next page. Frowned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you come from, Jake? He asked. Finally. I don't know, the boy frowned. I did know. I knew when I came here. But it's all fuzzy now, like a bad dream. When you wake up, I have lots of bad dreams. Mrs. Shaw used to say it was because I watched too many horror movies on Channel 11. What's a channel? A wild idea occurred to him. Is it like a beam?
Yeah, I have beam on that last one too. Because it's he doesn't mention anything about the beam or...
Yeah, I was just saying, he probably doesn't mention it because I didn't think it wasn't something... I don't even know if he had the idea of the beam originally for this book.
No, I think it was when it hit the second one is when the beam became a big part.
And he casually throws it in here.
Yes.
Like before Alice mentioned things, and he'll talk about a little bit there, and then this casually throws the word in.
And pretty much, if I remember right, this entire thing from what's a that description of him, like the whole Channel 11 thing, all the way up to him going, "You're not making any sense," does not exist in the old one. So he doesn't go, "No, it's TV."
What's TV?
The boy touched his forehead. Pictures.
Somebody told you here? This Mrs. Shaw?
No, the boy said, "I just was here."
Who is Mrs. Shaw?
I don't know.
Why did she call you Bama?
I don't remember.
You're not making any sense, the Gunslinger said flatly.
Yeah. So, and then of course that finally breaks down. Like, the boy has finally been questioned to his last core, and he just breaks into tears.
He doesn't know what's going on, and he's confused.
He just woke up, all the memory he's had are slowly just slipping away, and he's trying to just grasp at things, and it's just... Yeah. It's horrible.
I want to say something, but...
I know.
It's a spoiler. It's a spoiler. I gotta be quiet. It's a spoiler. I'm gonna keep quiet. Oh! What's my next thing? What's else? Next page for me, what I got?
Mine was right before the hypnotism. It had to do with talking about people being pulled into it, like how he said that Allie,
the guns of the townsfolk of Toll had not asked to shoot Allie with her sad, pretty face and end a market by the secret she had finally asked to be let in on. Use that word, that 19, like a key in a lock.
Yep, none of that existed in the old one.
Because 19 hadn't existed in the old one, and it did. Because I wrote that too. That was my thing too.
And then, of course, but this was the other thing, and I wrote this one down. I don't know if it was just because I wanted to remember it, but it was Allie, he thought. Allie was at least part of this world in her own self-illusory way. But this boy, this goddamn boy, and I forgot what it was in the old one, but it was different, like... I don't remember. But you just realize that Roland is actually very patient. Because he's like, tell me what you can remember.
Because we get down to where the boy says, very hard. There we go. There was a place, the one before this, a high place with lots of rooms and a patio where you could look at tall buildings in the water. There was a statue that stood in the water. A statue in the water? Yes, a lady with a crown and a torch, and I think a book. Are you making this up?
Yeah, and
I guess I must be.
Yes, the entire... Because it's like, we know. We obviously know what he's describing.
Of course we know what he's describing.
But Roland, it's just like, whoo.
Like, this is like crazy madness. What are you... So weird. God.
But yeah, he goes on to talk about there's things that ride around on the streets, like, that are blue and white or yellow. There was a lot of the yellow ones, and you're like, taxis.
Exactly.
No, it's just Ubers everywhere.
Yeah, Ubers just
you never know.
Yeah, my next thing is the bottom of page 83, which is Jake getting hypnotized.
Yes.
And because then we start getting into that, and that's his own whole thing.
Holy shit. But before that, I love how he was like, there were cement paths beside the streets, windows to look in, and more statues wearing clothes. The statues sold the clothes. I know it sounds crazy, but the statues sold the clothes.
Yes.
And the gunslinger shook his head and looked for a lie on the boy's face. He saw none. Then the tie. He's like, he tried to explain that he had to wear a tie, and he went like this, and the gunslinger was like hanging. Like, I I just associate that with hanging somebody, so okay. But yes, the description, the first thing I noted in the discussion points that I had was how he described, and I've known this, or I've thought about this ever since I read the books the first time, all throughout them, is his bullet trick reminds me of the coin trick from Constantine. Because that's exactly what he does with the coin in Constantine.
It's been a long time since I've seen Constantine.
Yes. Like, it's, what's his name? I don't, because it's, of course, it's not Constantine, it's someone else. But anyways, the girl, because she's a psychic, she ends up doing it at one point because she finds his coin that he always carries, and she's like completely just mesmerized in her own little psychic vision thing, and so she starts wheeling it across her fingers. And so every time he does his bullet trick, I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
It's fancy bullet trick, which
yes.
he uses quite a few times.
Yes. He hypnotizes with a bullet. So essentially, the description is just when, if you've ever seen Constantine, it starts at 1, and as you move your fingers, it just rolls across and then goes back and around.
I've seen different movies
yes.
play with the whole coin going back and forth.
Yes.
I don't know how you do it with a bullet. Because that just seems easy.
Like,
it's round, it's cylindrical, it seems odd to do with a bullet.
But he does it. It's rolling.
Of course, then I jumped to 85. Like, way after some of the stuff. There's a lot Jake goes over.
Holy shit.
Jake Chambers, sometimes Bama, is going downstairs with his book bag. There's earth science. There is geography. There is a notepad, a pencil, a lunchroom. It's like, we get a really detailed description of what's going on.
It's not the story of Roland. It's not the story of Jake. Like, no one is telling it. No one's talking about it. It's kind of as though it's a narrative. We are now in Reading Rainbow, and we are seeing this instead of it. Like, it's even in the books, italicized. Like, that's how they separate it. And they do it throughout the books, too. Every time there's a story being told, either all of it is in italics or just the beginning part is. Mm-hmm. But it's more of a story and not essentially our story.
The point I put down is his father sometimes talks about people at the network who are doing too much Coca-Cola. The statement is always accompanied by some humorless grin or a quick little snuff of the thumbnail.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
It's okay. Right before that, it was his mother, who is scrawny in a sexy way, often goes to bed with sick friends. What the hell does that mean?
Jake, you didn't live in a good place.
No, he didn't.
And I can't really say the Gunslinger's a better place.
No.
But
because it said people have always bewildered him. Jake, I hear you. We have a lot in common going on right now.
Let's see, where do I go next? I go to the next page.
And then of course the the romance novels. The historical romance novels that his mother likes, and his dad calls them hysterical novels, and he calls them bodice rippers. And that Jake goes through, or he dips into looking for the hot parts. Yeah.
Because my little notes skip most of the description and finally get to what Stephen King likes to do and foreshadows. Yes. Jake sees the man in black.
Yeah.
Which is 86 bottom for me. Book bag. He comes to the corner and stands with his book bag at his side. Traffic roars by. Grunting blue and white bases, yellow taxis, Volkswagens, large trucks. There's a boy with a very, but not average age. And he sees the man who kills him.
Yeah, because he's...
Like, King, why you always got to foreshadow what's going to happen in a couple pages?
He sees the man who kills him out of the corner of his eye. It is the man in black. Yeah.
It's like, why you got to foreshadow this?
It's like, great, we already know he's dead. What the hell?
I mean, for the new reader, why do you have to tell us you're about to kill the character? Why couldn't it be a surprise 2 pages down?
I guess it's because you already know he's alive-ish. Because he's telling-ish the story.
I know, but still, it could be a shocker when he dies.
But yes, and that's when it all goes downhill really
fast. It's a very
fast.
brutal, just a brutal description to read through.
Like, it went from, okay, you're getting this description of this boy. He goes to a prep school. He has his lunches, like, they say that he looks more like he should be at a dinner party because his lunches are cut a certain way. And he talks to girls. He's not afraid to talk to girls, but that kind of scares them away and everything. Like this lovely description of a nice young boy.
And a very average, normal morning for him.
And then it's like it is the man in black, and he doesn't see the face, only the swirling robe, the outstretched hands, and the hard professional grin. He falls into the street with his arms outstretched, not letting go of the book bag. Yes. And then it just goes downhill.
It goes so much worse.
Like, you think, oh, he's gonna... he's just... Obviously, you already know he's dead because it says kills him, the man who kills him. But you just think, oh, so he's gonna maybe tip into the road. It's gonna be like the movies where it just hits him, the screen goes black. No.
Besides, he needs to describe his death. He needs to describe the car hitting him and the front tire crushing his guts and bleeding out of every orifice. Yep. And the only thing he can think about is, his knees.
Yeah. I wonder if I skinned my knees. Jake wonders if he skinned his knees. And that's the thing, is because as he's falling, he sees into the windshield. And then it's like he falls onto, like he pretty much hits the ground. It's like, oh, I wonder if I skinned my knees. And next thing you know, the wheels go over him and it crushes him, spilling his guts everywhere. And you're just like, ouch.
Yeah, ouch.
Blood everywhere. Ouch. He's still worrying about his knees.
Yep.
Meanwhile, yeah. Because it's just like, it breaks Jake's back, mushes his guts to gravy, and sends blood from his mouth in a high-pressure jet. Oh. Jesus, Stephen King.
We didn't need all that! And then the next note I have is, somewhere a terrible calm voice, the voice of doom, says, I'm a priest, let me through. An act of contrition?
I can't remember if it's contrition or contrition, but yeah.
He sees the man in black, or the black robe, and knows sudden horror. It is him. The man in black. Jake turns his face away with the last of his strength. Somewhere a radio is playing a song by a rock group, Kiss. I was really expecting him to say, like, Hey Jude.
Yeah. Not there yet.
No, apparently not. He sees his own hand trailing on the pavement, small, white, shapely. He has never bitten his nails. Looks at his hand. Jake dies.
Well, you know how he got to wherever.
Yes, so he dies and somehow he comes to this world.
Yes.
But it also is apparent that the man in black pushed him to kill him, to bring him to this world, which means the man in black can time travel, dimension jump, whatever theory we want to go with, he can go back and forth. He's somehow done something to bring Jake here.
It's crazy though, because it's like it makes you, and you start to get that feeling as you read further and further that, and because Roland starts to feel it too. The man in black's up to something. He knows why he did.
He says someone here that he thinks that Jake is a trap of some sort.
Yes. It was, I want to say...
I don't remember where, but there is a spot.
I actually have it written down, because it's after the whole... Because it's after the story. It's, I want to say it's actually the last page of the thing, because he's talking about...
It's very male.
Yeah, he's talking... I think when originally he was delusional, he said something about being a trap. Like, he thinks that this boy's some kind of trap. But it's not till the very end of it that he's like, no, something's weird with this boy. It's gonna be bad. Like...
Yeah.
I a bad difference between the two books.
Oh,
but
what?
It's, do you have anything before he wakes Jake up? Or was that it?
No. The next things are after he wakes...
Okay.
Or right before he wakes Jake up. But.
Okay. Yeah, because mine is too. It's when he pretty much asks Jake, do you want to remember this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, pretty much, he gives Jake the option to, do you want to remember this, or do you want to just forget it ever happened and you can go back to, not thinking about any of this? And Jake says pretty much, forget it. I don't want to know. But that's the thing, is that he said, do you want to remember this when you wake up, or forget it? And Jake says, forget it, the boy said promptly. When the blood came out of my mouth, I could taste my own shit. Okay.
Yeah, very, very descriptive there, yep.
In the original, it just says, forget it. And I don't know exactly, but I'm pretty sure it says, forget it, the boy said promptly, I bled. That is it. He just says, I bled.
It's a weird way of putting that.
Yeah. And then he just says, all right, you're going to sleep.
I like the new one better. It gives a much better reason why he wants to.
And then, of course, the go ahead and lie over if it do please you. And, of course, that's not in there.
Yeah, the thing I'd put right before that is that enough for the Gunslinger to make it out sure. The fact that there had never been such a city as the boy described, unless it was the mythic city of Lud.
Lud. Good old Lud.
Another thing I would almost swear isn't in the original.
It's not.
Yeah. There's no way that's in the original.
Wait, what page is that?
That's literally right before you just read.
I'm going to steal our...
It says, do you want to remember when you wake up? That's literally like one
I
of the
know
very
we said
start.
we weren't going to do this, but this is the one. This is that one.
We said we weren't going to!
I'm sorry. I have to know. It's not something I wrote down for
because
some stupid
this is
reason.
a city that's not brought up for 2 more books.
Okay, so I bled, and then... Okay. The fact that there had never been such a city as the boy described, or if so, it had only existed in the myth of prehistory, was not the most upsetting part of the story, but it was disturbing. It was all disturbing. The Gunslinger was afraid of implications.
The rest out there is just in parentheses right here, unless it was the mythic city of Lud.
Yeah, this one was, or if so, it had only existed in the myth of prehistory.
Exactly. Which again, that's changing that for something he already knows will be later on. Because it's not through the 3rd book that we even learn of Lud.
Yay!
So, but it's planting seeds. Like,
Yes.
he mentioned this in the 1st book, that mythic city. Yeah.
Where's your next point at?
Roland thinks of the past. A water pump. Yeah, the thing is the water pump. Made by North Central Positronics. Just figured I'd throw North Central Positronics out there.
Oh, yeah. Remember that name.
It's going to be very important.
Also, right after that, he remembered Zoltan. He remembered the bird's
name. Yeah, he does end up remembering the bird's name.
Apparently, water does do the mind good.
Being healthy and...
The next one in mine, of course, is... Finally, he talks more about Court, because in the original, Court's not really brought up that much. Like, he mentions the name here and there, but in the original, this is the first paragraph that he actually, says he thought of Court and actually goes into Court's
Yeah, my next one is that Roland thinks of the past.
Yes.
Which starts here at 91.
Here was the thing about the old one versus the new one, and I think I had mentioned this to you beforehand. In this one, it says, he doubted it. He thought of Susan and his mother and of Martin, that incomplete enchanter. Okay. In the original, it says, he thinks of... he thinks of... Because I just wrote down who is Eileen. Because I can't remember if he thought of Eileen and his mother and Martin. No, it just said he thought of Eileen and Martin. That's it. The only 2 names. Does not mention the mother again, because that seems to be a trend in the first book, or the original version. Didn't mention Susan either. Just someone named Eileen that has never been mentioned
This is
before.
more about his past that we're learning now because it got written in the 4th book. But it's hints at what's going to come and giving you names and stuff that is actually his past, or at least what he writes for his past in the 4th book.
Yes. And then, not even, a little farther down, it says, pretty much each name called up others. Cuthbert, Elaine, the old man,
Jonas,
and then,
with his quivering voice. And again, Susan. The lovely girl at the window. Such thoughts always came back to Susan. The great rolling plain known as the Drop. And the fishermen casting their nets in the bays at the edge of the clean sea.
Apparently, another character to have only been written into these books prior to the original version is Elaine, or not Elaine, or Alan. I would assume it's Elaine because it has the A-I. But either way, because in the old one, it's Cuthbert, Paul, Jonas, and Susan. So it's like, instead of Cuthbert, Elaine, Jonas, and Susan, it's Cuthbert, Paul, Jonas, and Susan.
I don't know who Paul is.
I don't know if we ever hear of Paul again.
Again, it's a weird Paul. Kind of like the weird Elaine, or whatever her name is.
Aileen, or it's either Eileen or Aileen. But
which, after some careful consideration, we discovered there were some comics written, and she's a character in Roland's past, niece of Court, and that's kind of important. But that was done after he did the revision, and I guess it was a character they decided they wanted to play with from the original version, and so we get a lot more backstory here from a comic book later on.
I guess, because I guess maybe they went back, or they could have gone through like they do have the Dark Tower complete guide. So they might have went back and gone, oh, here's a character we can play with. They don't have a backstory, we can create one. Like
very easily. And I know King had a lot to do with at least making sure that all this felt, and he was happy with it, but can trust what he does.
We do that with the movie.
Yeah, we can't always be trustworthy there.
Okay, and you had a point after that?
All right, on to the next point, which is 92 top. We get the final, or the first words of "We have to palaver," the very first time from Roland talking to Jake. Which, once again, I do not believe you said it's not in the original book.
No, actually it's not. He literally just says, we have to talk.
Good old Roland.
But before we move on from just that one point, the paragraph that's on mine at least starts the top of this page. On yours it's different. But it's right before, what is that, 4? No, IV is 4. So this is 5.
That's 5, yeah.
He's, of course, reminiscing on his old days. He's thinking about what happened in Tull. And he says, the gunslinger laughed, bemused. I am the last of that green and warm-hued world. And for all his nostalgia, he felt no self-pity. The world had moved on mercilessly, but his legs were still strong, and the man in black was closer. I don't know. For some reason, I really liked that because it pretty much encompassed everything of how he felt. It's like his past is still so close to him, and yet he just keeps on walking. He just keeps going as though something is telling him he has to keep following the man in black.
And we pick up at the point where his life gets pretty interesting.
Yes.
A lot of death, but it gets pretty interesting from the point we pick up where we... So I have that.
I only wrote it down as far as in the old book. I didn't write it down where it is in the new book, but apparently on page 88 of the old book, there was an error that said... I assume it meant to say the boy looked at him, but in the old one it says the book looked at him.
I don't even think he has a book.
Once again, the editor, where were
Somebody did something wrong. Somebody failed their job.
You had one job, damn it.
So, there's a quote that I pulled out that I really, really liked. It's in 93, the top. Alright, let's see if I can get the whole thing here. The boy looked at him, spoken of the man in black.
Oh, there it is right there. The boy looked at him, except it was the book looked at him. The book looked at him.
Yeah, it's right here. It says, the boy looked at him ominously, spooks of him coming back. The man in black, the gunslinger said, not a question. Yes. Is he a bad man? I guess that depends on where you're standing, the gunslinger said. He got up and pitched, yeah. Just that quote. Is he a bad man? I guess it depends on where you're standing.
That's like the epitome of every villain ever. Just like...
Is he bad? I mean, from our point of view, we're following Roland, and he is the bad guy.
Essentially, yes. Because it's like we don't know how, besides of what happened in Tull, we don't really... And then, of course, hearing about Jake. But
over and over, it's like he's not doing good things, for sure.
But at the same time, as he's following the man in black... Like, I think even earlier on, he says, Jake asks, are you going to kill him? And I could have swore he said, I don't know, I have something to, or something, he said something about, Jake asked him if he was going to kill him, and he essentially said, I need answers. He is going to show me.
Yes. Something along these lines,
He needs to take me somewhere.
Yes. Yes. That is it.
And I was like... So, even though he's this bad guy...
Roland needs answers.
Yeah, Roland's not just out to... Yet at the same time, you know, he just busted in on Jake and almost shot him. But
yeah. He needs answers, come on.
He was also very delirious. We forgive you, Roland. But, yeah. I don't know. As I said, like, that's every villain ever as far as...
What's really sad, and it's a spoiler, so I'm not really going to say it. I'm not going to. It's just this whole journey of him trying to catch the man in black.
Yes.
It doesn't go how you might think it should or would. Let's just go with that.
Foreshadowing.
Go with that. Yeah, my next one's on 94, but there's a little bit that kind of happens between. It's more of, Jake is doing better. He gets up. And they are looking for food, I guess?
Yes,
there's a cellar that Jake tells him about?
Yeah, he pretty much says, there's a ring on the floor that you pull up, but it was dark, and I was alone, and I was afraid that I would go down, the ladder would snap, and I died down there pretty much. Yes,
exactly. Because my next thing was, in the cellar, spiders with eyes and stalks, and as many as 16 legs.
No.
This is terrifying.
All kinds of nope.
No. But I don't like little bitty spiders, and these are huge spiders, and they have legs and eyes everywhere. No.
Shortly before that, though, I did have a note that said, in 101, on page 101 for me, he's talking about, Jake tells him about the ladder, and Roland says, okay, we'll go see it tomorrow. Let's sleep now. And... he talks about how he looks up. It says, the gunslinger stood on the steps looking up, and the boy joined him. Old Star was up there, and Old Mother.
Mm-hmm.
In the old one, he uses Polaris and Mars. So he has not, once again,
yeah.
It just shows he has not formed his own world, his own language yet.
Which very much comes up later. We hear about Old Mother... And what was it? Old Mother?
Old Star.
Old Star. Multiple times throughout the books. And I didn't realize, because I haven't read the original one. So long. I have it at the house, but I haven't read it so long.
He just used Polaris and Mars. Like, I just found that really cool.
Yeah, another little thing. It's like he just put it in here where it should have been.
But yes, back to Eight-Legged Freaks. I think if I were to go down a ladder, see giant spiders, just gray and mutated and looking at me, I'd be like, the food's not worth it.
It's not worth it. I don't need it that badly.
Yeah, no. But I guess you're a desert-worn gunslinger who has traveled this far. And if you're going to be scared of some spiders, then...
You're probably not going to make your journey.
No.
Probably not. But of course, then he goes one step further. There's, sand coming through a small hole. And, let's see, Jake spills sand drops. The groaning ceased, and there was a sound of steady, laboring breathing. "Who are you?" the gunslinger asked. No answer. And in the high speech, his voice fills the old thunder of command. Roland demands, "Who are you, demon? Speak, if you would speak. My time is short, my patience shorter." And then there's fortune telling stuff about that.
Another just no. Like, if I'm down in a basement, and not only are there these giant spiders, but there's sand pouring out of the wall, and I can hear labored breathing and something groaning, you sure as hell bet I'm going up the ladder.
At that point, do you think your gun is going to do anything? The wall's talking! This is not good!
The wall sounds like it is in pain. I would just throw a spider at it and call it good. Like... So Jake is pretty much like, "Come up. Oh, Jesus, mister, come up." And he says, "Go away," the gunslinger said calmly. "Wait outside. If I don't come up by the time you count to 2, no, 300, get the hell out." And then, of course, Jake screams at him again. That is not in the original. He just tells Jake to go away and then starts walking towards the wall.
Well, they just made Jake seem a little more concerned.
Yeah.
It says, the demon speaks. It was the voice of Alice, the woman he had stayed with in the town of Tull, but she was dead. He had seen her go down himself, a bullet between her eyes. Fathoms seemed to swim by his eyes, descending. "Go slow, past the drawers." I guarantee that was in the original. Gunslinger, watch for the tahine. Which I also don't think was in the original.
Actually, I didn't write that down, so it might have been.
That doesn't seem like something that would have been in the original, but it might have been.
Don't mind me as I ruin our decorations.
Of course. While you travel with the boy, the man in black travels with your soul in his pocket.
I love that.
It's such a cool little...
Yes. Stephen King, you are a master.
What do you mean? Speak out. But the breathing was gone. The gunslinger stood for a moment frozen.
And this one is, "Go slow past the drawers, gunslinger. While you travel with the boy, the man in black travels with your soul in his pocket." So, okay. Yes, it skips the tahine. It skips, pretty much everything.
No. Well, this says, "Go slow past the drawers."
Yeah. So...
You have that, but it just skips the tahine part.
Yeah.
Gunslinger, watch for the tahine.
Yeah.
While you travel. So the drawers were there.
Yes.
But the tahine were not. Because those aren't... When we even hear about tahine? What is that? 5 books in?
I think so. Isn't it the waste? Or no, it's
Wizards and
Glass, I thought.
I don't remember when we first hear about the tahine.
It is the Wastelands, because...
Are they in the Wastelands? I don't remember.
Because I want to say... Because the Wastelands right before... Wastelands is book... What?
3.
3?
3.
So then it's Wizards
and Glass. The Drawing
of
3, and then the Wastelands, and then Wizard and Glass.
Okay, so I want to say it's Wizards and Glass that they're in, because that's when everything starts happening, and... Yeah, so I want to say...
I'm not sure.
I have to
keep mini books down the road. Let's go with that.
I have to keep my mouth shut about you. So.
Yeah, there's too much we could talk about, and it's just ruined future books, and if we don't want to spoil too much about the future. Of course, then we go forward, and... He goes to the wall and just shoves his arm in the hole. I'm like, really? Yeah. Really? You don't know what's in there.
Doesn't seem concerned. Just punches.
And he takes a jawbone from the wall.
Yes. Apparently, it must be a thing because they don't really. Did they ever really explain that? What? As far as when you have a speaking demon, you just carry like. I want to say it does come up later on about how...
It gets mentioned at some point for some reason. I don't remember exactly why.
But, it just says, "Take the dead from the dead," the old proverb said. "Only a corpse may speak true prophecy." So that's when he took out... He pretty much found the jawbone.
Which may mean it was a true prophecy because it was a corpse.
Yes. So I'm thinking that by carrying the jawbone with you, I wouldn't consider it good luck, but as far as, I mean, if you need to mull over the prophecy, like, it might speak to you again at some point or something. Either that or he just, stole the...
My next one's on the bottom of the same page. He could feel the rapid beating of the boy's heart. It occurred to him later that this was when he began to love the boy.
Yes.
Which was, of course, what the man in black must have planned. All along.
There you
go. Were there ever a trap to match the trap of love?
Don't believe that was in the first one.
Yeah, that seems like maybe it wasn't.
No, the whole... it occurred to him later that this was when he began to love the boy, but I don't know if it says, was there ever a trap to match the trap of love?
Was the demon? The voice was muffled. Yes, I speak a demon. We don't go back there anymore. Come on, let's shake a mile.
Let's shake a mile.
They went into the stable and the gunslinger made a rough pick for the blanket, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Where I go next?
He pretty much, unless you have anything before that, they start to walk away. Like they are ready to leave. Yeah,
mine jumps up to 98, which is another small little thing.
98?
Mine's page 98.
Why is mine page 100 and something?
Well, yours should be, we decided 6 pages ahead.
Oh, okay.
So you'd be 104.
Because that was 104 is the trap of love. So,
yeah, mine's 98. Somewhere or yeah, I think it's something, yeah, it goes along with the last page. Goodbye, yeah, Jake cried. Yeah. Goodbye. Then he turned back to the gunslinger, looked troubled. I feel like something's watching us. Something or someone, the gunslinger agreed. Was someone hiding there? Hiding there all along? I don't know. I don't think so. Should we go back? Go back and... No, we're done with that place. Good, Jake said. Feverishly. Or whatever. Feverently? Whatever.
What?
They walked into blah, blah, blah. So, just that particular quote.
What?
This whole little piece.
Yes.
The whole something or someone. You think someone was hiding there all along? This gets brought up way later in the books.
Oh, yeah.
This particular quote.
And here's the thing about that. Does not exist.
I'm sure it doesn't.
Nope.
Because that doesn't come up till
yes,
so much later in the books.
All it says is goodbye, Jake cried, goodbye, and then pretty much that's it. He doesn't explain why he looked troubled or anything. He just pretty much is just like, okay, and then they walked. Like,
yeah, that's a I don't know, like super important, just for just little reasons. It's something it's a big tie-in with another book. So,
yeah.
That we will hear about not for a very long time. So you remember me saying this and watching another video, you're probably not going to have this context, but they're so far apart it's not even funny.
No.
Where's my next one? Yeah, my next one's 99. The next page. After a pretty picture of a man hanging.
Oh, that's nice.
That's kind of where we go next.
I love how it's foreshadowing.
Yeah, we're foreshadowing. We're not there yet. Actually, that's like another 6 or 7 pages down, but we're going to let you know what's going on. I'm trying to see. Yeah, I'm on. You're
on. Okay, so before Jake falls, the thing that I actually wrote down was, of course, once again, he thinks over the man in black travels with your soul in his pocket. But after that, they keep passing campfires. If you remember from the first chapter, he found the symmetrical fire. Mm-hmm. And these ones were getting warmer, like fresher and fresher. And so it says, the gunslinger was sure that he could see the distant spark of another campfire somewhere in the first rising swell of the foothills. This did not please him as much as he once might have believed. One of Court's sayings occurred to him, "Where the man who fakes a limp." I found that really cool. It does not exist in the first one.
Of course it doesn't. Why would it?
They barely bring up Court in the first one, so.
And then my very next thing, is near 2 o'clock on the 4th day out from the way station, Jake reeled and almost fell. Here, sit down, the gunslinger said. No, I'm okay. Sit down. The boy sat obediently. The gunslinger squatted close by, and Jake would be in his shadow. Yeah. Drink. I'm not supposed to until... Drink. The boy drank 3 swallows. So we start getting... And we're about to jump in... All while we're sitting down, we go into this huge story. Because, yeah, he goes to... He hypnotizes Jake. And he hypnotizes him so he will feel refreshed.
Pretty much, he was like... Jake, what I actually found cool, because, I mean, yes, is the stubbornness of a child. But at the same time is... We went from Roland going towards this barn and everything, going... I'm not gonna fall because of my pride. Yet here is this kid who has just fallen in front of him, and the kid's like, no, I'm fine. And then he's like, no, you need water. And he's like, no, I'm fine. And he's like kind of taking care of him, like he wets his shirts and stuff down. And
I mean, that's nice, but he also says, I need to basically make sure you're fine now, because I can't carry you.
Well, yeah, that was way before he fell, though.
Was it?
Yes.
I can't remember.
That was it pretty much, because he put the water skin on him and said, is
that
okay?
Because that was when he wasn't sure if he could carry the water skin.
Yes. And so then this is 4 days later or whatever, and the kid finally falls down, and the kid's like, no, I gotta be tough, like, I gotta be...
But I think that's still part of that.
Yeah.
I need to make sure you're fine, because if you're coming with me, you have to be fine.
And I think that sticks with Jake, because he's like, he keeps trying to tell Roland, no, I'm okay. And it's like, Roland knows he's a kid. And so he's just like, because then he says, do you want to sleep? And Jake's like, no. And then the boy looked at him with shame. So it's like, once again, it's like, he knows this kid is tired, exhausted, needs to rest, and Jake wants to keep going. Like, he wants to prove himself in a sense.
Yes, he's taken a very much liking to Roland.
Yes, he wants his
Haven't
approval.
Haven't we all?
Yes.
And then my next one's on 100. The Man in Black and Martin might be brothers or even the same person.
Yeah.
Because we finally go back after he puts Jake down, or for his weird little nap. I think as we start, or has that happened yet? For now in the evening.
He puts him in his nap, and
minutes,
then he starts thinking.
No, the boy looks at him with shame. Blah, blah, blah. Sure, the priest. There we go. No, we're not quite in the past yet. When I was your age, I lived in a walled city. Did I tell you that? The boy shook his head sleepily. Sure, there was an evil man. The priest? Well, sometimes I wonder about that, to tell you the truth. The gunslinger said. And there were 2. I think now they must have been brothers, maybe even twins. But, did I ever see them together? No, I never did. This bad man, this Martin, he was a wizard, like Merlin. They kin Merlin where you're from? Merlin and the Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, Jacob said. The gunslinger felt a nasty joint go through him. A jolt? Yes, he said. Arthur Eld. You say true, and I say thank you. It was very... I'm sure that wasn't, because that's another language thing.
That's all his language. But he did say... all he told him was some sort of relationship, maybe half-brothers. That's what he said.
Very different.
Must have been brothers, maybe even twins, but, he said maybe.
But did I ever see them together? Yeah. No.
But yes, he pretty much, like, he starts, you slowly kind of get a sense of, you're building Roland's world now. Like, what's it kind of like?
Yes. The first book builds Roland's world better.
Yes.
It gives you better insight into his past. Better insights to things that will come to be later on.
Yes.
And then finally, my next one is he hypnotizes the boy.
Yes. He's been hypnotizing the boy this entire time. And then finally he's like, lie over. And then
we go into Roland's past.
Yes.
Or, I think we have another.
The one thing that I put was on that page. It was when he starts thinking back. Because once again, he puts where the man who fakes a limp. Because, he says, the question what would follow? The question was too vague to catch his interest. Cuthbert would have found interest in it, lively interest, and probably a joke. But Cuthbert was as gone as the horn of Death's chain.
And the gunslinger... Was that in the original?
No. And the gunslinger could only go forward in the way he knew. Nope.
That fancy horn. That horn. Which, again, I don't think we'll get another glimpse of the word, even anything about the horn, until the 4th book.
Nope.
And then it becomes a bigger thing later on. But...
everything's just...
He does lots of stuff in here. There's a lot in here.
I think one of the key points of this entire series, the entire book series, everything pretty much, that happens when I read these books is the language. The language starts to stick with me, going through my brain to the point where in general conversation, something's going to come up. Like, one of my favorite is, do you ken it?
There's lots
like,
of...
Do you get it? Like, do you understand?
There's lots of fun little things, like the one he had just said.
Yes.
Say thank you and I say whatever, or
yeah.
whatever you say.
Arthur Eld's, you say true, I say thank you. And then the whole please if it do ya, or yeah. And then of course mine is do you ken it? Because throughout the books, it's like this one is just like do you ken it? But there's times in this books when he says it and you know he is being a sarcastic asshole. And I love it. Like...
The thing is, as much as I like this book, him redoing it fixes a lot of problems. Yeah. It makes the book better. It really is. You're a first-time reader. Read the new version. It's better. It will help you along your way. But as much as I like it, the second book is so good.
We're almost there. If we can just get...
I know a few more weeks and we'll pass this one and meet in the second one. And oh my God.
There's so much.
I cannot wait for the second book.
And that's going to be the most difficult one to not have spoilers. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be so hard.
But okay, we're going to get through this one. We can do this. Okay. So that was the last thing I had until it was he's talking about the bird. Which I think is on the...
Yeah, I mean, I literally... The next thing was Cuthbert is gone, the horn of the shame, because I had to put that in there. And the very next thing is the bottom of the page. It's David the Falcon.
Yes. And... Here's the thing, is that I did find this different between the two of them, is that the Falcon was named David after the legend of the boy with the sling.
Mm-hmm.
David, he was quite sure, knew nothing but the need for murder, rending, and terror, like the gunslinger himself. In the old version, it's David, it pretty much kind of says the same thing, except it was like Martin. So he compared David to Martin instead of David to himself.
What an interesting thing to change.
Yes, I just found that really weird. Like, why?
Why change it?
Yeah.
You like foreshadowing everything else. But maybe as a boy, he didn't know how bad Martin really was. So comparing him to Martin was odd.
I don't know. Because... It was just a weird thing. Like, it's one of those small things that got changed, and at the same time, you're like, is it foreshadowing? Is it just... I don't know.
Well, David's going to come up in a couple chapters.
Yeah. But,
And then I move on to... something else I found interesting. The next one I have is the next page, and it's 102 top. Talking about Roland and Cuthbert spoke in the low speech.
Yes.
For scullions and squires.
We are unworthy.
It's
we are worms.
It's so interesting, the low speech and the high speech.
Yes.
And how the high speech is something so different. Even when you every time you hear it, it's always something very important. Something super, and it's like a presence. It's the gunslinger. It's their language. It's them. It's like royalty.
Yes. And then... You have the low speech, which is just squabbling.
Where everybody else speaks.
Squabbling boys and... Also, Court. Oh my goodness.
You're not a nice man.
That is one thing that I did want to discuss is how would you feel going through gunslinger training with Court?
I mean, he's like a worse version of a drill sergeant.
Yes. Because, they can scream at you, they can kind of push you around, but no, Court, like, literally, he makes you bleed.
Oh, no, he bashes him upside the head and knocks him down. He's not nice to him.
No. There's blood involved, and it's like, if you get sassy, he's just like, you speak to me in a high speech, like. And that's the first time that it comes up with, I believe, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, with, I have forgotten the face of my father.
Yeah, this is the first time I think we've heard for the sake of your father.
Yes.
But this finally introduces, I've forgotten the face of my father.
Yes. Because he's like, tears stood brightly in his eyes, but his lips were pressed together in a tight line of hate, which did not quiver. I grieve, Cuthbert said in a voice of breathless control. I've forgotten the face of my father, whose guns I hope someday to bear.
Mm-hmm.
I love this.
Yeah, and then my next one's not for a couple pages. This lesson with Court and David. Cuthbert will have to fast dinner and breakfast.
Mine, for some reason, I wrote something but did not put a page number. And it was the fact that they actually said his mother's name, which was really strange considering in the original book, like, they avoided his mother, and then bam, suddenly you say her full name, and I'm like, wow.
What was it? Where is it?
That's the thing, is I didn't write it down. It just says, finally mentions Gabrielle.
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah, you see Gabrielle.
I can't remember where it's at.
Well, it has to be somewhere right here.
I know!
Yeah, we can.
It's... Don't get me in... Okay, so it's way...
It'll be alright.
I don't know.
So yes, of course, there's the... Oh yeah, because when Court is talking to Roland, Cuthbert sticks his tongue out at him.
Yes, he's
on his blind side.
Back. Yes.
On his blind side.
And pretty much it's bad because it's like, well, no, he gets hit. And then he gets hit again. Mm-hmm. Because first it was one ear, and then it was kind of trickling down. And then he hits him again for some reason. I can't remember what. I think it was just for speaking in the low speech at him. Yeah. And then it bleeds more. And then finally, the whole thing about David is that you have him on your arm, and the point is to get him to release fast enough to make a smooth takeoff to attack a dove, pretty much. You're teaching this bird to just hunt and kill and control and stuff like that. And the fact is he was talking to Roland and didn't let the bird go, and so then of course gets hit and then hits again. And then Roland sees that David has caught the dove, so he runs over to check on him, and he
goes to leashing back up.
Yes.
And the hawk gets him. It lashes him, slashes him, cuts him open. Because then he finally gets him leashed, everything, and he struck me, Roland said. You pissed him off, Court said. The hawk does not fear you, boy. The hawk never will. The hawk is God's gunslinger.
I love that.
Roland merely looks at Court. He was not an imaginative boy, and if Court had intended to imply a moral, it was lost on him. He went so far as to believe that it might have been one of the few foolish statements he had ever heard Court make. And then Cuthbert came up behind him and stuck out his tongue. Yeah. Court safely on his blind side.
Yes.
Roland did not smile, but nodded to him.
And it's like, you pretty much... that is one of the first times also... Well, not... Yeah, one of the first times. I don't think the first time that you get a feeling of who... Roland was when he was younger, because it is reflected in a lot of the books, like talking about how even as he's older, some things that people say, like he doesn't grasp sarcasm as well, he doesn't grasp jokes that well.
No.
Like, he is very straightforward, but he's good at it. Oh. Like, he is excellent at it, and he's good at executing things. But as far as, someone,
There's an interesting line here a little bit further on that his father tells him that I liked a lot.
Yes. But right before that, you brought up that, of course, Cuthbert stuck his tongue out, and Court, of course, turned around and pretty much just hit him right in the middle of the forehead. And...
Yeah, he says, yes, Cuthbert, steadily formal now. Thank you for the instructive day. You learn, Court said, but your tongue has a bad habit of lolling from your stupid mouth when your instructor's back is turned. Mayhap the day will come when when it and you will learn. There respective places. He struck Cuthbert again, this time solidly between the eyes, hard enough so that Roland heard a dull thud. The sound mallet, Cuthbert fell back into the lawn, his eyes clouded, cleared, there's another little thing here. I usually grin, blah, blah, blah.
Pretty much, Cuthbert gets pissed. Like, at this point, he looks at him like he wants to kill him. Yeah,
he's like, then there's hope for you, Court said. When you think you can, come for me, maggot.
Yes.
How did you know? Cuthbert said between his teeth. Court turned to Roland so swiftly that Roland almost fell back a step. And then both of them would have to have been the grass, blah, blah, blah. Remember, I saw it in the reflection in this maggot's eyes, he said. Remember it, Cuthbert. Good. Last lesson for today. Saw it in the reflection of Roland's eyes.
And it just proves the way of the gunslinger, the training that you go through, just like how good you can get.
Kind of reminiscent a little bit back of the first chapter of Roland telling the guy who was sneaking up behind him. Yeah. Because he saw him in the mirror.
Yes. He was pretty much like, go sit down.
You don't have a chance. You're not going to win this. Sit back down.
Yes. And it also, it brings into the talents of the gunslinger. Like how in Tull, how it focused so much on how his fingers and stuff were just able to reload without thinking. No matter what he was doing, no matter what was going on, it was just automatic.
Endless training.
And you think, this is what they had to put up with just to get to that far. So it's like, could you imagine going through all this training with a guy who literally will beat the crap out of you?
The thing is, everyone has to go through this training. Everyone there. And then if you can't beat Court, you're not good enough. No. You don't become a gunslinger, you go off to be one of these other people. He says, he gives some examples. I don't know exactly what they were, but...
He pretty much thinks about Cuthbert and says that he doesn't think Cuthbert might... there's a chance Cuthbert might not make it. Mm-hmm. So he might be this or that. And it's later on when they're talking about when they're at the gallows.
Yeah. My next thing is about Hex.
Yes. So all you need to know prior to that is that the punishment for messing up was you don't get food. So
which is something I mentioned somewhere else. But yeah.
So pretty much at
Cuthbert
the end of
will have to fast dinner and breakfast according to Court. But Roland knows the cook and they'll feed him anyway.
Yeah. They have helped many a boy that has had to fast.
Yeah, that horrible fast. So they end up getting pie.
Well, and going gravy, meat and gravy, and then pie.
In which they talk to Hax, the cook.
Yes.
He seems like a nice guy. He likes the kids. He's good to them. And then so they get their food and they go under the steps to eat it. Yes. Of which Hax and this other guy decide they're going to talk somewhere close enough for the boys to hear them.
Well, before you say that one little thing, Hax had said to them, he said, like, someone came in to let him know, hey, there's a guard to talk to you. And he says, okay, and then turns to the boys pretty much and says, she'll go see her, she'll give you pie, and then scat. Don't get me in trouble.
Yep.
Yes. It's a very important thing to remember.
Yes,
Don't get me in trouble.
Oh,
that was the difference. Is in this book, it's don't get me in trouble, and in the original, he just says in the scat. Like,
there's a little more guilt there.
Yeah. But yes, going back under the stairs and then overhearing Hax and the guard.
Yep, Hax talks to, I guess, a guard or something.
Just a guard.
Yeah, a guard.
A guard. I think his name is like Robinson or something.
Where is the exact thing? The very bottom right here. Yep, there is. But the shadow stopped, still out of sight. It was Hax and the man from the guards. The boys sat where they were. If they moved now, they might be heard. All the good man, the guard was saying. Or, not all. The good man, the guard was saying. Farson? In 2 weeks, the guard replied. Maybe 3. You have to come with us. There's a shipment from the freight depot. And particularly loud crash of pots and pans, of all the blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Heard the guard finish. Poisoned meat. Risky. Ask not what the good man can do for you, the guard began. but what you can do for him, Hack sighed. Solidly, yes. You know what you...
Soldier, ask not.
Yeah. You know what it could mean, the guard said quietly. Yar. And I know my responsibilities to him.
Hack's the pirate.
Why not? You don't need to lecture me. I love him just as you do. Would follow him into the sea if he asked, so I would. All right, the meat will be marked for short-term storage in your cold rooms, but you'll have to be quick. You must understand that. There are children in Taunton?
Taunton, yep.
Which is, the cook asked, and it was not really a question. Children everywhere, the guard said gently. It's the children we and he care about. Mm-hmm. Poisoned meat. Such a strange way to care for children. Hax uttered in a heavy, whistling sigh.
And then goes on to give a description of how the children might die.
Well, they curdle and hold their bellies and cry for the mamas. I suppose they will.
It'll be like going to sleep. Yeah, it never is. It never is.
They're going to poison the town.
Yes, and then he says, of course, again, you said yourself, soldier, ask not. Do you enjoy seeing children under the rule of the gun when they could be under his hands, ready to start making a new world? The ones I have marked down is originally when we started the podcast, he had an introduction that I did not when I had the original. In his introduction, one of the major changes that Stephen King wrote down was that Farson was actually a town in the original one, and he became a person when he rewrote it. So in mine, it says, in Farson in 2 weeks. And then later on, it says, there are children in Farson, the cook said. Yeah. Instead of Taunton, it's Farson.
So he changed his name to Taunton instead of Farson. Because Farson is a person.
Yeah, but, he changed, he pretty much, in the old one, Farson was the town, and they just called him the good man. They didn't give him a name.
But yeah, later in the books, Farson is the good man, and it becomes really confusing.
Yes, so this one, they've already changed it.
We changed it back, renamed the town to kind of fix this issue they have.
And then also that entire thing when he's talking about poisoned meat and you said it yourself, soldier, ask not. Do you enjoy seeing under the rule of the gun? In the older one, it's actually very religious. Like he talks about, do you enjoy seeing children under the rule of the gun when they could be under his hands? And says something like, the one who makes, lambs lie down with lions and stuff like that. Like...
Yeah, they did that. That wasn't...
Yes.
Not in this one.
But pretty much Roland and Cuthbert. So you imagine two kids just hiding under the stairs. Their precious cook, the one that helped them, that always saved them, they're now overhearing is pretty much a traitorous... Yeah.
Yep. The next couple things, I think we're getting to the point. We need to kind of skip forward a little bit. There's a couple vital points I want to get over before we end this and get through the last 7 pages real quick.
The last part I will mention about that is Roland's reaction. He said, I could have killed them. Roland thought, frozen and fascinated. I could have killed them both with my knife, slit their throats like hogs. So
he's talking about betrayal. He's talking about treason. He's talking about taking down and killing everyone.
Yes. And this is somebody that, he says, Hax, he thought, bewildered. Hax, who put a poultice on my leg that time. Hax. And then his mind snapped closed, cutting off the subject.
And the next thing I want to bring up before we jump too much further is him talking to his father.
Yes.
There's a very interesting point right there. And I didn't write what page it was on.
Well, mine says...
I know it's not far, but it's right here somewhere.
Mine's 119 with Stephen, and they didn't mention his name in the book. It's just his father. Oh. Like the old one.
I know his father's arrived in this port.
Yes.
Both of you court, and I think it's on this page. told me why. The boy's eyes widened. How could I not? Treason was the boy's father waved a hand curtly. If you did it for something as cheap as a school book idea, you did it unworthily. Unworthily. I would rather see all of Taunton poisoned. Ooh.
Yeah.
It's like, I think treason's good enough reason, personally. Apparently you don't.
No. Well, that's for him, I think it's because he knew that Roland was feeling something else. So it's like, if you're going to blame it on treason, I'd rather see them all die. And that actually pulled Roland out of it. And he's like, I wanted to kill them. Both of them. Liars. Black liars. Snakes. And then, of course, he's like...
Go ahead. They hurt me, he finished, defiant. They changed something, and it hurt. I wanted to kill them for it. I wanted to kill them right there.
And pretty much his father understood. He's like, yeah, that's crude, but he knows that's true to Roland. Like, you actually gave me a true answer that you felt, not something as treason.
Another small little thing I want to get is his father nodded. That's crude, Roland.
Yeah.
But not unworthy. Not moral either, but it's not your place to be moral. In fact, he peered at his son, morals may always be beyond you.
Once again.
You are not quite like Cuthbert or Vanny's boy. That's all right, though. It will make you formidable. The boy felt both pleased and troubled by this. He'll hang, the boy nodded. I want to see it. The elder Deschain threw his head back and roared laughter. Not as formidable as I thought, or perhaps just stupid.
But yeah, that's... Once again, it kind of nods to who Roland is as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And also just the relationship he has with his father as far as...
It's not really a father-son relationship.
No, it's almost as bad as court sometimes. But,
yeah.
But at the same time, it's like he knows his father's moods and... his father seems to know his moods. So it's not like the closest relationship, but they kind of get each other.
I want to jump through the gallows real quick.
Yes.
Like, really jump through and get to, 19, where there's one thing I want to mention and then finish it off personally.
Okay. Because
they go to the gallows.
Yes.
They go where they're going to hang hacks.
Yes, pretty much his father says, okay, you want to see it? Go. Fine, you see it. Court gives them bread to break under. They don't understand why until they get there. And there's a bunch of birds there. Okay, so the birds are going to feed
They're going to eat it.
It's
and this is to entice them even more to come here. So they watch it.
So pretty much, they get there, they want to go up onto the thing, and no, of course there's nobody there. So they want to go up there, and suddenly fear hits them. And Cuthbert's like, I don't want to do this. And that's kind of when Roland is like, maybe he's not meant to be a gunslinger.
Mm-hmm. But they do it, and then Cuthbert ends up changing his mood quite a bit.
Yes. Oh, okay, I know what line you're going for. I just found it.
Well, there's two things.
Yes.
There's the very end, but right before that, we come back to the real world.
Okay. But right then, it says, right when after they hang, he's like, it was good, Cuthbert said suddenly. I liked it. I did. So he pretty much he saw justice, and he was pleased by it in a way. But yes. So they are finally back in the real world. It doesn't really... It kind of just jumps back as though they've been traveling for a while now. So the story is long behind.
Yes. And he follows the vector of Jake's finger upward, past the rise of the green plain to the naked and flashing cliffs of gorges above it. Up toward the snowcap itself, faint and far, nothing but a tiny dot. It might have been one of those motes that dance purposely in front of the eyes, except of its consistency. The gunslinger beheld the man in black.
After all this time of chasing him, you see this little dot hopping up the mountain. You're like...
Finally, his first glimpse of the man in black. And once again, he doesn't feel...
No.
They could look at... feeling nothing but a premonition. Oh, but a premonition of sorrow. That's him, Jake. You think we'll catch him? Not on this side. On the other. And not if we stand here talking about it.
But yes, they move forward. And it's just... For me, it was that last part because it was different from the end. It ended differently in the original. But it said, except perhaps the road to the tower. There Ka might show its true face. Once again, Ka not mentioned in the original. The boy, the sacrifice. His face innocent and very young in the light of their tiny fire had fallen asleep over his beans. The gunslinger covered him with the horse blanket and then curled up to sleep himself.
Yes. My biggest thing here was the boy, the sacrifice, which was my very last point. The boy, the sacrifice. Again,
it's like, he's already, what are you doing? Just, do you have to keep, yeah, we're done. I'm done.
Road to the tower.
Yeah.
Show the true face. The boy, the sacrifice. No, we rushed to the end. But this is long. We said it was going to be shorter. We said that. We said it at the beginning. This is going to be shorter. This is going to be as bad, not as long. There's not as many pages. We're not going to go through the book as much. And we didn't.
I think that this one had a lot... I'm sorry, guys, okay?
This one's longer than the other one.
Well, we also had some pause moments. And
No, I promise. It's going to be longer than the original, I think. Or almost exactly.
But here is the thing. I think that this time we had a lot better discussion compared to last episode where it was, look through the book. What?
What?
Wait, what did you say? What the fuck? Yeah. Like, I think that this one was actually more discussion. So if that's... I'm cool with it then. Like,
no, we're cool. Apparently, this is going to be a 2-hour podcast every time, and it's just going to be what it is. But it was great. The next chapter will be The Oracle and the Mountain. Chapter 3 of the Gunslinger.
Yes. And that will be next Monday.
Next Monday. Yep.
Yes.
As always. So next Monday, keep coming back. Tuesday is Would You If. Thursday is...
Breaking Prism.
Nope.
No?
Nope. Tuesday's
Tuesday,
Breaking Prism. Thursday is Would You If. And Friday is What's in the Box. Ranting, raving. If you liked this, think of this with not this material and just us going off topic and just ranting and doing stuff.
Pretty much any tangent that we had, like from the Gunslinger to suddenly talking about Constantine. Imagine that, except the entire podcast.
Yeah, that's what that's going to be. So that's fun. We enjoy that. It's on Friday. Ends out the week. We enjoy it. Other than that, if you enjoyed it, please throw a like on there. Throw a comment. If you didn't enjoy it, throw a dislike. Let us know why.
Yes.
We got a couple dislikes at the moment. I'd like to know why they're there.
Yes. Is it the length? Is that what's wrong with you? Come on.
We don't know.
Bring
it wasn't even on this. Doesn't matter. But if you enjoyed it, throw a like, comment. You reach me at BJJ Gamer. Reach Amanda at KZ Pup. Reach the show at Beyond Our Focus on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. So we're on all kinds of things. We're also on a crap ton of podcast services. So you can check those. You can listen to it as you do other things. Anything else?
Nope, I think that's good.
Awesome. Then that would be it. We hope you come back next week. Hope you enjoyed this one. But till next time, be well.